Sponsored by Surfshark. This is my native environment. Airports and Airbuses, Boeings and Biscoff at 34,000 feet, where it's always a beautiful day. More than 500,000 miles logging legs in the endless quest for the next mobile gadget just over the horizon. So why, after 9 years of this, has Mr. Mobile never made a travel tech video? Well, maybe because when you spend almost 100 days a year on the road, your travel carry isn't all that different from your everyday carry. But then again, I haven't done one of those in a long time either. So, come along on my last journey of 2024 to New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'll show you the tech that's kept me connected and some of the moments it's let me capture along the way. Your earbuds. You know them, you like them, they fit you. So I'm not going to talk about my own favorite earbuds. It changes all the time anyway. Instead, I'm going to show you a product that lets you use your own Bluetooth earbuds on planes, the AirFly Pro from 12 South. This was recommended to me by my friend Crackberry Kevin, and it's the simplest thing ever. Literally just a Bluetooth adapter. You plug the jack into a 3.5mm port on an IFE screen, you pair it with your buds, and bam! You don't need to settle for the cheap headsets the cabin crew hands out, or carry a dedicated wired headset. You do need to remember to charge the thing, but it's USB-C, so that's easy enough. And it'll work with any headphone jack, so you can pack your vintage iPod video on your next trip and bump some emo college classics if you're into that. And it has a receive mode as well, so you can reverse the process. Plug it into an aux jack in a car or on a speaker and stream your music to it. That said, I don't use it as much as I otherwise might because I'm an over-ears headphone guy when I travel, and I'll get to that in a sec. But first, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, gallium nitride? Gallium nitride, or GaN technology, is what makes it possible for Nomad, among others, to pack 30 watts of charging power into a block smaller than most phone adapters. And it's not just small for smallness' sake. If you've flown enough, you know the scourge of loose power outlets on planes, so you want something as lightweight as possible to keep it from tumbling out like a bigger brick. And when I do need more power and more ports, the 100-watt Pro from Sharge is my go-to, but I say this with a big asterisk. You might remember this brand from my 100-mile bike ride. It used to be called Shargeek. It makes battery and charging accessories with the bold, memorable designs I prefer, and for the moment, this brick still works. But either I've got bad luck or the company has quality control issues with some of its products, because several of the accessories it sent me to try last year have already failed. And according to Reddit, I'm not alone. So, despite their comparatively conservative aesthetics, I'd recommend sticking with the more established brands like the aforementioned Nomad, which also makes this universal USB cable that adapts to A, C, and micro ports, and whose heavy-duty Kevlar has taken me across 3 continents over the same number of years and survived the appetites of 2 hungry kitties. And then there's perhaps the most established brand in accessories, Anker. Despite being powerfully dull in design, this leftover from a sponsored video I did earlier in the year has become my preferred power pack thanks to its small footprint, the built-in MagSafe, and the kickstand, which lets me keep an eye on notifications while it's charging. Fun fact, despite not being Qi 2 enabled, the Motorola Razr will still stick to it, thanks to the magnets that keep its flip closed. And when I go international, I use this device that's replaced my drawer full of different adapters for different countries. Depending on where you're going, you just pick a slider for US, EU, UK, or Australia. This came from my friends at MediaTek, but it's manufactured by a brand called Ullio. Ullio. Take your pick. Which now seems to have newer GaN-enabled models available too. Now we get to the meat of it. What handhelds do I travel with to soak up all the power from those chargers? Well, by and large, 2 phones and an e-reader, but probably not the e-reader you'd expect. While I really enjoyed the Kindle Colorsoft, the vast majority of my reading is done in monochrome, at which the Kindle Paperwhite still enjoys a small advantage. Oddly, I care more about the color of the casing. In a world where this raspberry trim exists, I just can't imagine settling for the anonymous matte black of the color Kindle. If I do need color in my book, I can always fall back on my phone, of course, but I carry the Kindle specifically so I can avoid the temptation to dive into a browser to chase down a stray thought, or peek at the notifications that are always hovering just above my screen. Quick footnote, you might argue that the Book's Palma 2, that improbable darling of geeky bookworms in 2024, is the better travel companion due to its smaller footprint. But while the Palma is a great little handheld e-reader and much more adaptable than the Kindle, thanks to its ability to run any Android app, well, it's actually the form factor that sinks it for me. From an ergonomic perspective, the Book's Palma might as well be a phone, and reading on a conventional phone has always just felt wrong to me. The muscle memory of one-handing a slab smartphone doesn't let me settle into a book the same way a proper tablet-style e-reader does. That's one of the reasons I carry a Pixel 9 Pro Fold as one half of my Captain Two Phones travel carry. It is a tablet. Or it's a phone. Or if you add a Microsoft Arc mouse and Arctech keyboard, it's a little workstation. Or if you just want to watch a video without needing a case with a kickstand, it's a little laptop. I won't belabor this point. I've spent 5 years extolling the virtues of book-type foldables, but I will say the utility of a phone like this really shines on the road. From planning your stops on Google Maps to looking up the next weird destination on Atlas Obscura. Also, it's a Pixel, which means it packs a camera I can rely on, one I can bend to my will in a way I just can't with a bar phone. And that's even more true of the clamshells I carry when I don't want the bulk of the Pro Fold. My preference is the Razr Plus for reasons of style and software, but several years of breaking Motorola's have convinced me that the Razr is too fragile for my case-free lifestyle. So the more durable Galaxy Flip 6 is the travel flip for me, kitted out with Niagara launcher to cut down on distractions and speed up one-handed use, and paired with the cheapo Benro tripod selfie stick that helps me get shots like these. I went to New Orleans as a guest of Verizon so the company could show me its network modifications that make the Superdome a viable wireless network even when there are 75,000 people under the same roof. And the Flip 6 made shooting those Superdome selfies much easier than they would have been with a slab phone. And I want to use a few more camera samples from each phone to show you the city I had the pleasure of visiting. Because frankly, I hate the notion of doing a travel tech video without any of the actual travel. And while this may ruffle a feather or two, I quickly found that the famous Bourbon Street is New Orleans in the same sense that Times Square is New York City. I'm sure at one point it was transcendent. Maybe back when you could slow dance to mellow jazz at a computer-generated gin joint like the Bourbon Street Barn. But today, it's largely an unfortunate melange of top 40 hits being belted out by lubricated karaoke tourists, kitted out in t-shirts that even a mid-90s Spencer Gifts would have been embarrassed to stock. To me, it felt like what would happen if the Las Vegas Strip threw up on Savannah, Georgia. And I was all too happy to find a quieter street nearby at which to settle for my last 2 days in this otherwise beautiful city. I stayed at an inn above a cozy dive bar in a part of town where the ratio of tourist to local was much more favorable. Friendly strangers were kind and generous with their conversations and their advice, and no one on the sidewalk told me they knew where I got my shoes. Oh, and the food and the music are as rich and rewarding as you've heard. One kind person even gives me a spare public transit ticket, a Jazzy Pass, as they're called, which lets me take the ferry across the mighty Mississippi. It takes less than 10 minutes for me to find myself in Algiers Point, and less than 10 seconds after stepping off the boat, I'm deep in the throes of déjà vu. The community I find, just a stone's throw from the hustle of the French Quarter, is charming and sedate, sleepy enough that the local coffee shop hosts a neighborhood cat who comes and goes as she pleases. But still New Orleans enough in that funky way for an English pub to boast a TARDIS for a front door. This place reminds me of my own hidden little corner of Brooklyn, a humble neighborhood beside a bustling metropolis connected by a ferry. And with those thoughts of home ringing in my head, I stop at several, wondering what it would be like to call them mine, wondering if I'll ever put down roots somewhere like this. Well, not if I don't get back to paying the bills talking about tech. Now, let's talk about the gear I use to get those photos off my phones. I used to use this SanDisk thumb drive because of how tiny it is, but after 5 years, it's gotten very sensitive to jolts and jars, and it's very slow. So, when a production company gave me this Samsung T7 Touch SSD as part of some project or another I've forgotten, I decided to give it a shot as a replacement. And wow! Does its speed make up for the size increase? This is how I moved all the footage from my phones to my laptop for this video, and it's my new main mobile drive going forward. And when I need to move a different set of files, from my camera to my phone, for example, I use a simple SanDisk Extreme Pro SD card reader. God bless USB-C. As for the computer those files are going to, it's just a MacBook Air. Nothing crazy, not too exciting. Enough power to edit quick reels, but I use my MacBook Pro for anything more elaborate. And in the same vein, I've talked many times about the Garmin Mark Captain Gen 2, which is far more expensive than I could swing if this wasn't a review device. But really, any Garmin is a great travel smartwatch, because their battery life is so good that if you're not going to be gone for longer than a week or two, you don't even need to remember to pack a charger. Though I will say that I did miss the Pixel Watch at one point. I'd have been able to influence a little more easily if I had access to its remote viewfinder capability. 2 more wearables will take us to the home stretch, starting with a little quiet comfort. For the past few years, the Bose QC45s have been my go-to. And that makes sense, considering the QC35s were my first noise-canceling headphones, which exploded my brain when I bought them from an airport tech stop years back. But I gotta say, I think I'm sticking with these more out of habit than loyalty. After 3 years of admittedly rough use, the ear cup cushions are disintegrating, just like those on my 35s did, and the chintzy power switch is annoying and awkward to use whenever I need to pair these to another device. That said, the 45s do nail the fundamentals. They fold for compact storage, they stay comfortable even for long listens, they cancel cabin noise with Bose's usual alacrity, and the battery still lasts several crossings of this continent before they need charging. My other Road Warrior wearable is, well, maybe the least surprising thing on the whole list. The Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses. As you may recall, I broke my review pair days after receiving them last year, and then I somehow managed to break the pair I bought to replace those. So when this limited edition transparent trim was announced, my inner 90s loving nerd jumped at the chance to get a camera and some open-ear headphones along with transition lenses in a transparent frame. Now, I don't love these for the AI. I actually keep that turned off. I love these because they let me stream music and podcasts to my ears without shutting out the world. They've got better call quality than most earbuds I own. And the camera, well, ever since Google Photos made itself the cross-platform photo album of choice, I've used it as a kind of visual journal, taking pictures not just of work stuff or breathtaking sunsets, but just normal, ordinary day-to-day stuff. And having a camera ready at all times, shooting from my point of view, with a photo or video just a button press away, well, it's been a real blessing in a year where I've tried to reconnect with places from my past, and versions of myself that lived there. Epilogue. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't on this list, like most of the gear I need to make YouTube videos, my camera, microphones, etc. And the reason is, this isn't a camera or a creator tech channel, and I really don't care much about that stuff. I just look at it as pure utility, as a means to do the job. Also absent until now, clicks, because I try to be sensitive about putting too much of my own product into my videos. But I will say that even if I weren't a co-founder of the company, I'd be using clicks on my iPhone, because an airplane or a train seat is the perfect captive venue for creativity. And I still prefer real buttons when I'm getting creative. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And finally, I know there's not much specialty gear in here. And that bums me out, because that stuff tends to be super photogenic. Like, I wish I could tell you I carried a TP7 field recorder every day, or the Playdate, or products I love and use often, like the Switch and the Steam Deck. But those aren't essential parts of my tech travel. In fact, more often than not, when I do bring them along, it's only to leave them untouched for a week in my bag. Bottom line, I didn't pad this video out with superfluous tech.
Hey, no belt?
I'm just trying to keep to the essentials, Major.
If I'm going to stretch a video, I want to stretch it with stuff I do care about. And recently, as you may have noticed, that's been trying to share more with you about the places I go and how the tech I carry helps me capture or experience those places. Frankly, that set of priorities isn't helping me much economically. I would be doing much better and the channel would be growing much faster if I only focused on gadgets, and specifically probably only focused on iPhone videos. But I'm not going to do that. I do have a new project that I've got percolating that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. More on that in the outro. But first, for most of this year's 88 travel days, I really have made use of today's sponsor, Surfshark. By now, I think most folks understand that a VPN is something that keeps your browsing safe and your privacy secure. Something that lets you watch your favorite shows and access your favorite websites, even if you're traveling to countries that might block them. But what a lot of people don't know is how simple using a VPN can be. That's a big reason I've been using my sponsor Surfshark for 5 years running. Surfshark gives you easy one-tap security on unlimited devices for one low price. That means you can use it anywhere, from your Android phone to your MacBook, iPhone to Windows PC. And Clean Web is included too, so you get to see the web as it looked before publishers stopped pushing back on advertisers. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. Visit the link in the description and use coupon code MrMobile for an extra 4 months. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Friends, 2025 will be the year I launch a new series at Mr. Mobile, one about smartphones, but from a completely different perspective. I'm planning this to be a recurring monthly series and hoping to get a sponsor for it, but whether I do or don't, it excites me. So stay tuned in the next couple months for that. Disclosure about the review devices used in this video and paid travel is down in the description, as well as links to the products, but those aren't affiliate links, and no company had copy approval or editorial input into this content, nor did anyone pay for their inclusion besides Surfshark. My thanks to you all for being a wonderful part of a challenging year, and please share the channel so I can keep making tech videos you want to see. As always, you can find me on social media at Captain2Phones. That's Captain, the number 2 phones. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.